Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Hunindo Tech 2.0 Business Forum. I'm Sri Safitri, and for about an hour and a half, I will be your moderator for this cybersecurity panel discussion with the topic Protecting Critical Data During Critical Times, Infrastructure, Cyber Physical Systems, Human Resources. We already have 6 panelists from H1 System, ACPM IT Consulting, Unity Defense, National Cyber and Crypto Agency PSSN, Elite Data Center and ID Pro, Codefield Rekadaya Mandiri. Before we start the discussion, I will introduce all of our panelists and then continue with the discussion. Our first panelist on the Hungarian side is H1 Systems. H1 System is a European data center facility and system integrator, service provider, engineering company with presence in ASEAN. H1 has strong competencies in design, concept making, consultancy, implementation and audits of data center facilities and in the field of various systems integration. Thomas Ballo, Director of H1 System, will be joining us in the panel discussion today. Thomas is data center infrastructure expert and lead consultant, having been involved in several dozens of data center facility projects from scratch till operation. He has also been involved in presenter-led DC projects like the primary site for the Swiss CERN, as well as the strategic, governmental, and mission-critical private facilities. Today, he will focus on the IoT age computing data centers in the physical and cyber platforms. Tech companies specialized in cybersecurity use the most innovative technologies to protect highly valuable services and processes. This is now even more important given the COVID-19 pandemic. One such company is ACPM IT Consulting Limited, a global consulting company specializing in cybersecurity. ACPM is an international company network operating in 3 continents within the domains of cybersecurity consulting, security audit and screening, security advisory and project management, and cybersecurity training. Today we have with us Mr. Oliver Kovacic, International Sales Director of ACPM, who will focus on global cybersecurity trends during the COVID pandemic and overall digitalization trends. Mr. Kovacic is an experienced business development director with a background of ASEAN business relations with a long history of starting and boosting cooperations between EU and ASEAN countries, as well as a deep interest in Southeast Asian business and culture. The importance of cybersecurity has risen up the ranks, including cybersecurity-related products like antivirus software, audit applications, security devices, and security as a service. Unity Defense Consortium, our next panelist, is a professional alliance of companies and partners, all of which are established business actors in the security, defense, and ICT domains, not only in Hungary, but at an international level. Unity Defense and its partners commit themselves to jointly operating on the international market while providing complex, tailor-made cybersecurity solutions, including technology and knowledge transfer to governmental organizations. The consortium focuses on critical infrastructure cybersecurity as well as industrial processes for service providers, such as banks, healthcare institutions, etc. Representing the consortium today is Mr. Baldijar Banchat, PhD, CEO and co-founder of Ukatemi Limited, member of Unity Defense. He holds a PhD from Budapest University of Technology and Economics and has been working on the Crisis Lab, Department of Telecommunications in the same university. Dr. Banchat led the expert team that discovered and studied the Duku malware in detail, as well as other targeted malware campaigns, including the Flame, Miniduke, and Team Spy. From the Indonesian side, we have Bapak Anton Setiawan from National Cyber and Crypto Agency, also known as BSSN. He is the Director of Digital Economy Protection, Deputy of Protection. He currently also serves as the spokesman for National Cyber and Crypto Agency, BSSN. He has more than 25 years experiences in cryptography and cybersecurity and active as a speaker in various national and international forums in the field of cybersecurity and cryptography. He's also contributed to the draft law of cybersecurity and resilience and the publication towards a sovereign Indonesia cyber. We also have Bapak James Muhammad Falahuddin, CEO of PT Codefil Rekadaya Mandiri with us. Codefil aims to be the best provider of secure workflow collaboration and integration software solution in Indonesia. Their mission is to deliver solutions that fit the customer needs and budget to improve their operational efficiency. In short, their mission is to make your workflow. Codefil has been appointed by IBM as an advanced business partner to deliver software solution on top of the IBM WebSphere and IBM Lotus platforms. Currently, Codefil manages the operations of the largest IBM Lotus Domino in Indonesia with more than 30,000 users and more than 100 servers. But James himself has 20 plus years of experience in the Indonesian informative technology and telecommunication sectors. As a certified chief information security officer, he is involved in various cybersecurity related projects, especially in government sectors. As a certified blockchain professional, CBP, and his capacity as executive director of Indonesia Blockchain Society, he has also considerable interest in emerging blockchain technology. Last but not least, we have Alitri Data Centers as panelists. Alitri or PT Data Synergy Tamajaya is an IT managed service provider and system integrator with years of experience in managing critical systems. The team is well versed in all aspects of IT infrastructure, especially cloud technology. They have been appointed as data center consultant for Bank of Indonesia, Financial State Auditor or BPKRI, and the Indonesian Army. Alitri is the first tier 3 data center certified by Uptime Institute. We have with us the founder of Alitri, Bapak Hendra Surya Kusuma. Pak Hendra is a graduate of Founder Institute, the biggest incubation organization based in Silicon Valley, which contributed to expanding his knowledge of the global IT industry, together with Professor Kalamullah Ramli. Pak Hendra founded ID Pro, Indonesia Data Center Provider Organization, of which he is now chairman in 2016. Members of ID Pro are leaders of data center industry in Indonesia. So thank you so much for all of these distinguished panelists who are joining us from both Hungary and Indonesia. So without further ado, I would like to ask several discussion to start the discussion for today. So I would like to ask Mr. Kovacs about what are some of the cybersecurity trends that has been observed in Hungary or in Europe as a whole during the COVID-19 pandemics. Can you share with us?
Sure. Thank you so much, Ms. Safitri, for the amazing introduction as well as the question. Very happy to start this discussion. So as I mean, pretty much everyone knows, and I think we have been very much affected by this tendency over the past, I think, year or so almost, during the pandemic. All of us, this conference as well and this panel is most likely, in normal times it shouldn't be happening on Zoom necessarily. It should be happening in Jakarta. But this is what we have now. And what we have observed, and very good that we can chat about this is I want to point out a couple of different a couple of different things that we have seen in the EU and Hungary, but also on a global scale. Is one thing that is that cybersecurity attack activity has been increasing tremendously over the past let's say like 10 months or so. There's been a massive increase in phishing attacks, in malware, in ransomware attacks. And by many in the international community of cybersecurity, the COVID pandemic has been dubbed the largest ever cybersecurity threat that we have been facing. just because so many people are stuck, in digital channels at home, and the attack activity has been incredible over these past months. But also what's making us more vulnerable as well, and what's a big problem, is really the fact that the attack surface from a cybersecurity standpoint has been increasing tremendously as well. So not only we are receiving more attacks, but also we are just more vulnerable because of the fact that 70 to 90% of the global corporate workforce is stuck in home office, right? So there are less secure channels that we are operating on. There are more and more attacks that we are receiving on these channels. People are working from home. Who knows how secure that Wi-Fi connection is that you're using to access your corporate data? So these are tremendous challenges that we have to face, not only I think in Hungary or Europe, but on a global scale as well. And again, another problem that I want to point out, and that's something that we have seen in the global economy, is that cybersecurity and digitalization has become a very much central focus for organizations. But because of COVID, the budget that these organizations can allocate for these projects and for setting up defense systems to protect the newly formed work environments is actually less. So we are operating on lower budgets, but tackling larger than ever before challenges when it comes to cybersecurity. And this has been something that I think is pretty much the headline of this past couple of months: how to operate and how to defend ourselves in the cyberspace from an organizational standpoint with less money than ever before. And that also leads to a bit of technological sloppiness, a bit of legal sloppiness on the compliance side. We have seen a lot of cases of that. So I would say these are pretty much the largest focal points that we have been observing over the past couple of months.
Yeah, thank you. How secure our Zoom? Yeah, it's also a question that is being asked by a lot of people. So how can countries learn from each other when it comes to protecting sensitive data during critical times?
Yeah, look, I think one of this has to do with the fact that I think how to learn from each other is really the main point, is that I would have to bring up, or that I want to mention, is that digitalization as we know it has been going on for quite some time. Large organizations, large corporates, wherever we go, you see more paperless, going more digital, going more remote. That's been happening for a while now, but I think with this whole tendency taking a massive boost over the past half a year or so, we see tremendous opportunities for countries and different organizations to learn from each other in a way of joint programs, or just an active knowledge exchange. What we have been seeing is from our clients and our business partners, in especially in Africa and Asia, is increasing hunger and appetite for knowledge in the field of security and IT. We have seen the need with COVID now, that there's a lot of organizations that were pushing back digital projects to later and later. Oh, we're going to deal with that later. We don't have to do that now. Everybody, the whole workforce is in the office anyways. Why bother? And now what we have been seeing, is a lot of organizations want to learn about security, want to learn about new technology. And for that, we see that learning from each other has to start in a knowledge exchange, right? It has to come in the form of joint investments. We have actually at ACPM, we have just launched the other week our security operations center in Kenya with local partners, which was actually built on this very idea that Ms. Safitri just pointed out. How can we learn from each other? The local workforce has to be more and more skilled in the matter of cybersecurity. And for that, we put together a joint program that focuses on training local workforce and injecting local organizations with the knowledge that we have gathered in the field of cyber defense. So I think a knowledge exchange that is happening on the corporate level mostly, but is facilitated by governmental connections and connections in between countries, just what we have also been seeing in Indonesia with our distinguished embassy being so active in helping facilitate this exchange. We see the future in this very, very much.
Okay, so what do you think that what advice would you like to give to Indonesian companies in ICT sector going forward?
Yeah, look, I think just basically continuing this chain of thought that I started, I believe that, the focus has to be on learning, right? So best practices and knowledge regarding the current situation with, more corporate workforce being stuck in home office, defending VPN connections, defending Wi-Fi connections, um, being able to defend the workforce that is scattered around a town or a country even is something that has to be focused on. One of the things that I think is something that is the advice I would like to give is boosting investment and international cooperation into service-based security solutions and knowledge and training. So some of the things that we see is that organizations can purchase a couple of solutions. They can buy defense systems and solutions for defense. But what's really important going forward in the long term is having that knowledge, gathering that knowledge base, and having your workforce be able to defend your infrastructure with potential international help or international cooperation is something that we see as very, very important. And the advice that I really want to give is foster the current opportunities, and don't just try to look at the old ways or this pandemic is going to end and then we're going to get back to the normal. I think what we really need to focus on is, okay, what is this pandemic showing to us from a cybersecurity standpoint, which is, digitalization is going full on. We have to embrace that. But then it has to be secured as well. This digital transformation has to be secure. So what we see as very important, and I think the key takeaway or the biggest advice is really foster international cooperation, invest effort and energy and resources into projects that can yield serious amount of knowledge in an environment or in an organization, because that's what's going to help the organizations going forward. So I think this is a tremendously interesting time for Indonesian companies. And I believe just as any other company here on the panel, ACPM is also very, very happy to to engage in any kind of knowledge exchange or any kind of discussion related to how to build more secure environments together in Indonesia and beyond.
Thank you. I think I would like to ask question to Dr. Benchat. What are the most common security challenges of cyber physical system that can be form the basic infrastructure for smart cities?
Okay, so first of all, there are a lot of different new devices connected to the internet or any kind of network. These include IoT systems, connected cars, embedded devices in various different devices, industrial systems and OT devices, and so on and so forth. And the problem is that no matter we have not solved the issues in the traditional IT environment yet, we have to cope with the fact that these devices are also vulnerable to various security problems. And the problem is that this is not the future. These are already deployed. So the problem is that we have this life cycle management from the point of security. That means that in the perfect world, we would design the systems already by taking considerations of the security. So security design is the starting point, and the end of life of these devices is not the end of the security life of the devices. So securely destroying the devices might be also a point. The problem is that currently my fridge is sending out information about my temperature in the fridge towards a big company making the fridge without my knowledge. And in fact, that is done in an insecure way. So the problem is, I even as a security professional, I cannot solve the issue. On the other hand, these devices are deployed to various physical places, and attackers can physically sabotage or manipulate these devices, while because of the situation with the COVID, maybe professional security experts cannot even go there to fix the problems. So there are a lot of different issues, and to solve that, we don't have one product that will make everything perfect. We need a lot of different services, products, analysis tools, procedures prepared for incident response or forensics activities, and a lot of different parts and things. And this includes not just services. So it is, I agree with Oliver, it's products, services, and knowledge all together. And only with all these, you can solve some of these issues. Maybe some of the issues cannot be solved yet. So this is not an easy situation. So in fact, we have a lot of problems with all these devices because they lack of security, but we have to ramp up our knowledge or services or preparation for handling security problems with these solution systems, networks, whatever, because it's an essential need to deal with this problem, which is quite large. So I mean that because of the complex situation, it is not just something you can say, okay, it's not a problem because the fridge is sending out information, but what about connected cars? What about a malware attack against infrastructure in a hospital? So this is really something serious, and we have to deal with that.
Thank you. And how do you think that how should a malware or cyber attack be handled in smart cities or cyber physical environments?
Yeah, thank you. So malware is a very special problem because malware can be involved in many various security incidents and situations. So malware being ransomware or being something totally the opposite, so a tool to make a DOS attack by devices. These are all different kind of situations, and you have to understand what is going on. And hence, if you have a malware-based attack, you might have to analyze the malware. And to be able to analyze a malware, you need the capability to being able to do malware analysis, being it reverse engineering or just understanding the situation, behavior analysis, or any kind of different stuff. But the thing is that generally we consider that malware analysis belongs to the antivirus companies, and they will do that and provide us an update for the antivirus product. But it is not the same situation if you have a targeted attack or any kind of attack that involves your network or more or less focusing your network alone. You have to understand what is the big picture, and that affects countries as small as Hungary or any company. And the controversial situation is because most of the cases you don't have the knowledge, the products, the services, even for a big company, possibly alone you cannot solve this situation. So you possibly need a preparation here, so incident response preparation, and again, emphasizing the problem solving the problem does not begin when you have to face the problem. It is something you have to prepare to, and you have to make the proper preparations to be able to do it in-house or out of the house. But the thing is that you have to have the right way to handle as a situation if that occurs.
Okay, and what is the role of perimeter protection and malware and forensic analysis labs towards cybersecurity in a state?
Yeah, so again, I would try to emphasize that this is not one problem and there is no single solution. So you need to have multiple products, multiple small tools, and the knowledge how to use those tools to efficiently handle the situation. So you need the knowledge, hence you need trained personnel who is capable to doing that, especially in the case when these systems are installed in a specific environment. Maybe outsiders cannot even go there and do investigations because of the way how it can be processed. And in that case, you need to be prepared. And for these, you need all the tools and the knowledge and service together, possibly to make the right steps forward of the incident response. And hence, we are talking about our solutions and our practice in malware analysis, forensics tools, and integration of these tools and knowledge how to handle this. And again, emphasizing that there can be a lot of different environments related to that. Even if you have a cell phone, you have to be able to make forensics investigations on that. But I can also tell you one single example lately from a car that was stolen. We were able to extract information from the heads-up unit that contained not too much information, but for example, listing of radio stations and actual songs that was played on the device. And from that, we could extract the exact information when this car was stolen and how it was taken from one country to the other. So we have a lot of information in these devices, in these environments that can be analyzed, and you need to have the proper environment, methods, and knowledge and trained personnel to cope with the problem.
Thank you, Dr. Benchat. I would like to ask a question to Mr. Balo. What is the future of data centers in Indonesia? What possible roles can have edge data centers in the private and public sector in Indonesia?
Thank you for the question. Maybe I'll start with the second part of the question. What possible roles can edge data centers have in the private and public sector? So first of all, when we speak about edge data centers, yeah, speaking of something which already exists, but now it is a different type of data centers, a different method of operation of data centers, which is happening on premise, not in centralized colocation or hyperscale or cloud data centers. So if we think backwards, each and every institution had their own on-premise data centers where they usually run most of their applications which they used in-house. Nowadays, these are start to move into the cloud or completely running cloud, but in many applications, this is not good enough. So they still have some on-premise applications, or in extension of the cloud, they need some more low latency or more computing locally, which needs to be deployed locally. If you think about the 5G trend, AI, VR, or gaming, on any other ultra low latency computing requirements, these trends are strengthening currently. And this needs to be served locally, and everything cannot be served from the cloud, or because of mission criticality, next to the cloud, they also need to have something on site in case for any reason the cloud is not accessible. So for these computing needs, most of the cases we use end user devices and local IT devices, edge-oriented hardware and network components. But in case it is not enough, we are speaking about a small 1 rack or a few rack size or a few dozens of rack size edge data centers. So if we are speaking of this, then for example, for the private sector, this gives the opportunity that if somebody is not in a central area where all the central data centers are easily accessible, they can have the same user experience and the same applications can be used if a local edge cloud or a cloud edge location is accessible nearby. So if you look at the topology of cloud computing, there are the central data centers of cloud computing, and there are the regional POPs of the cloud computing. We are still a production site, but also at the very end of the infrastructure, now being developed the so-called cloud edge or the near edge, which are similar cloud resources, and also you can use the similar cloud environment, but it is near to the user, near to the or also on-premise, and these resources can be used like on on-premise data centers, but it is not an island anymore. It is part of the cloud ecosystem. It's just how you share and distribute your resources for different kind of applications. And this is the major change, that now the software defines the data center in a way that you can choose what type of data center and physical resource or cyber resource you are using for different kind of application. If you are an industry and you are running robotics, that robot cannot be controlled from the cloud. That robot needs to be controlled locally, but the data from that robot shall be transported to the cloud and shall be analyzed within the cloud for further optimization for any other purposes. So the edge and the cloud will live and already lives together. And this gives the opportunity for both private investors and companies, especially telecom and utility companies, to jump on this opportunity and bring value based on this new edge requirements, which has massive or mission critical or ultra low latency requirements. So for the governmental sector, for example, because Indonesia is so huge and the population is so big, one central governmental data centers will serve one purpose or many purpose of the governmental digital services, but they cannot serve everything. So the governmental edge needs to be part of the strategy which being developed, which means that the regional governments and local governments still need at least network and local CDN type resources, which can be called the governmental edge, to serve the local citizens and the local users properly, and also to apply not only data processing, but also live feedback, analytics, and AI or big data applications, which can be run on the central cloud, but also on the government edge cloud services also. The future of data centers in Indonesia, I think what is happening now is a few years ago when I moved to Singapore, I heard from analysts that Indonesia is the sleeping giant of data centers. And what I see in the last year or 2 years, that the sleeping giant is awakened. So what's happening is that hyperscale data centers being appeared in Indonesia due to the deregulation of the sector, and also the hyperscalers and the cloud providers entered into Indonesia, and that's triggered a lot of investment, and that triggers the whole ecosystem and also the private and also the governmental sector to move into the next stage of data centers in Indonesia, which is at the moment is concentrating in the region of Jakarta, but in the long term, within the middle term, it should also develop other regions in parallel also. Thank you.
Thank you. So how do you think digital transformation impacting data center landscape in Indonesia?
Okay. I don't know if Pak Hendra wants to add something on the previous question, or we can jump on the next question.
Oh, sure. So yeah, thank you, Ms. Safitri. We know that in 2019, Indonesian government is actually through Ministry of Industry was launching Making Indonesia 4.0. So after that, we can see a lot of local governments as well as government institutions are actually implementing sort of like safe cities and also IoT implementation in their institutions. And that's from public sector, but also from the private sectors. We see a lot of multinational companies are actually implementing IoT platform, yeah, and they integrate it with the cognitive computing and cloud infrastructure. So they can now have better visibility, and then they can increase productivity, and then they have a better predictive analysis. So with this implementation, I mean, in terms of IoT implementation in Indonesia, of course, the data center infrastructure as the upstream of the IT ecosystem is also significantly impacted. So a lot of, especially ID Pro members now, they have some kind of IoT friendly kind of data center now with FPGA server, also with the GPU servers. So a lot of new implementation of technology impacting the technology in data center level.
Thank you, Pahendra. So I get back to you, Mr. Balo.
Sure.
The question was how digital transformation impacting data center landscape in Indonesia.
Okay, so digital transformation, as the previous panelist already mentioned, is that which is the major drive of digitalization is the COVID-19, unfortunately, but it's sad, but it's true. So what's happening in many countries and all parts of the world that businesses has to transform from day one to day two into digital operation because of lockdowns and because of lack of travel opportunities. At least international, but in most cases also local. And that digitalization is also impacts the data center landscape in Indonesia and also the digital and cloud landscape, more importantly, in Indonesia. In the cloud, in the data center segment, or in case of enterprises, we can see a lot of changes. So on-premise data centers sometimes move into co-location. Because of the better connectivity and also lack of operational capabilities or lack of in-house operational team. We also see that the new startups and the new companies starts already immediately in the cloud, and later on they may be formed into a private cloud or they operate a hybrid cloud environment. And also we see that the newest generation of applications are already focusing not only on cloud or traditional cloud services like IaaS or PaaS, but already on container-based development. And that container-based development is aiming for the future, which comes back to the opportunities related to edge computing, where the application can immediately scale up and scale down depending on the demand and can be run in parallel in many locations. And that is also impacting the data center landscape. What we can also see is that, as also Pahendra mentioned, that many multinational and cloud providers entered directly into Indonesia, which was previously served from data centers in Singapore, Hong Kong, or other parts of the world, that due to the market size and due to the market and business opportunity and the friendly investment environment made by the government and the private sector also, that it is worth to develop a separate region or a separate location for Indonesia itself. And it is just beginning. So the first stage of happening this is having the central sites, the central POP sites placed in a central location near to the exchanges. But the second layer will be then these cloud providers and these multinational companies will enter more closely to the users and penetrate all across Indonesia. If we imagine that the size of Indonesia is similar to the United States, then the number of required data centers and the location of those required data centers will penetrate hugely, just following on the digital transformation of the regions. So this is why the digital transformation of non-central areas is very, very important, and a lot of effort for the connectivity of these areas will give its fruits in a very short time.
Thank you, Mr. Balo. Now I would like to ask questions to Pak James. What has been the local market and business reaction towards the pandemic in the cybersecurity sector?
Okay, I have to answer. Thank you, Ms. Savitri. As we all know that this pandemic came as shock to all of us, especially for businesses, not only big business, but also for a small business. That big companies, we are forced to change our ways of work. Usually we went to office, but now maybe we don't need to go to office to do our jobs anymore, and it is it happens in a very short time that we are forced to adopt to this new normal. I mean, so and this situation also came as a surprise to many CIOs that they have to adjust their IT to enable the employee to work remotely. So it should come with more also more risk. So usually, especially for the cybersecurity, it is a centralized division that manage everything, or they will manage the server, they will manage the network, and they will manage the people inside their boundaries. And suddenly, we have to manage the security without boundaries. Yeah, we have to let go the company network just to enable our workforce to do their job. And this is a new kind of cyber risk that face we all face right now. So I mean, this is the biggest reaction that companies have to make another like point of view or perspective how they approach their cyber security policy and practices. This is, I think, this is the biggest issue that we all have right now, not only in Indonesia, but I think all over the world. Some people said that the COVID, this COVID should be rewarded as the CIO of the year in 2020 because COVID can force the digital transformation, which cannot be done for like many years by the CIO, even the best CIO. But only COVID in just 2 months, we can, yeah, we have even like this as a new normal. Yeah, I think that's the biggest concern. How companies have to with this new kind of way of work thing. That's the biggest concern.
Thank you. What are some of the cybersecurity issues or challenges that Indonesian companies want to address?
Okay, basically, if we talk about cybersecurity, at least it can be categorized in 3 groups or 3 segments. First segment is from the infrastructure point of view. I think this is the basic the problems that we all now face, and we are accustomed right now. Especially often that if we talk about security, we talk about how do we secure our perimeter, how we secure from the hackers, and it's all connected to our infrastructure, whether it's a network or server. So that's the first segment. And the second area is the software itself. I mean, how with this new way of work, how we provide a software solution that enable our workforce to finish their job safely. Yeah, I think now we have to start to practice how we can create a software with like with a secure programming protocol or something like that, which is in the previous way because we all work in our local area network or protected border. Sometimes we didn't think about the security of the software itself that we are used internally. But now, since we all have to work across the border, the software area we have to think very carefully. And the third area is in the policy. I think this is the biggest problem. I think most of companies right now doesn't have the proper policy in cybersecurity. How to secure the information, how to secure. They just think that cybersecurity is in infrastructure or software problem. But we all know that cybersecurity, the biggest problem is in the person itself. So the presence of the good is one of the most important thing. I think that's the three area that nowadays companies start to thinking about their cybersecurity.
Thank you. So the next question will be addressed to Pak James or Mr. Kovacs or Dr. Banchart. In what ways do you think that can Hungarian companies cooperate with Indonesian companies for cybersecurity, perhaps through project or JV or even TOT?
Okay, maybe I will answer it first. As you know, as I mentioned before, Indonesia is a huge market. Yeah, and this is huge. And now, since the pandemic, like I said, the awareness of the need of cybersecurity infrastructure is in raised in Indonesia. And maybe for the Hungarian, like maybe we can have like you can introduce what is if you have a solution for us, maybe even in infrastructure side or in the software side, so that we can try to see whether is there a market in Indonesia. Personally, I've been approached by like some Eastern Europe companies like from Russia and from Ukraine that they have a very specific software solution to enhance certain part of cybersecurity. Maybe we can try to do that. That you can introduce a solution, and we can try to see whether it fits, and maybe after that we can talk about the.
Yeah, I think adding.
In Indonesia.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting, Mr. Falahuddin. Okay. Yeah, I just your connection broke up a little bit there. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. And yeah, I do think, because of Indonesia's market size, trying certain solutions and seeing, if they can succeed on the local market is definitely something that has to be tried. But I think one thing that I would like to add to that is yeah, on our side, we clearly see the importance as well as, the opportunity that lies in joint ventures and joint investment projects into certain fields. So for example, obviously, I'll emphasize a past successful project, but really for us, what has really worked very well is, for example, putting together a security operations center. A security operations center, has many huge advantages. One being obviously the infrastructure being protected, which is, being monitored by a security operations center, but also the workforce being trained and knowledgeable in operating a new infrastructure and having up-to-date knowledge on that certain technology. So on that side, I do think, that cooperation projects in a joint venture or a joint investment is definitely something to be considered between organizations, I think between Hungary and Indonesia. where, you know, for example, counterparts from the Hungarian side can bring expertise in an area, and then the local implementing partner can bring the personnel who's going to be trained, can, you know, bring the market knowledge, the experience, the connections, as well as, you know, the local presence and the knowledge in the local market when it comes to these technologies. I think there is tremendous opportunity in that one as well.
Okay, so from my part of view, the reason why we made this consortium of Unity Defense was that considering a project abroad, especially far away, is problematic if the project is too small or if it is too large. But in our side, the problem was that alone one company can provide only services that are just too small alone and not complex enough to reach the level when there is a reasonable value far away to deploy some solution. And hence we collaborated with a small bunch of companies to have services, products, training activities, knowledge transfer that verse to provide to countries like Indonesia. And our topic is slightly different than from Oliver's, but not unrelated. So we are working on the topic of malware analysis, forensics activities, security training, security design, penetration testing, and so on and so forth. The thing is that these are all related to the security operations, and the fact that we, again, emphasizing having knowledge, tools, and people with the knowledge together to solve the issues. And yes, the problem is that we, or in many cases, the problem is that companies try to sell products and not the knowledge and not the use cases, the procedures, and all kind of different technology-related information that is needed to run it properly.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Panchat. I would like to ask to Pak Anton from BSSN and also to Dr. Panchat regarding where do business see long-term value in the future when cooperating with EU businesses, especially in the cybersecurity fields? Perhaps while waiting for Pak Anton, Dr. Panchat, maybe you have you can share your thought on this.
Can you please repeat the question?
So where do companies see long-term value in the future when cooperating with EU businesses, especially in the cybersecurity fields?
Yeah, so one part in the field of security is that we sometimes handle sensitive data. And I think Europe is the most advanced region for having a culture for handling sensitive data, classified information, and doing business with trust with others. I mean that there are a lot of companies providing security services and products, but sometimes you can have some fear of having exposed to countries outside of your area. And in that field, Europe has, and especially Hungary has, the property being some kind of neutral in this field. So this is one of the advantages that can be told. And on the other hand, of course, I think educated personnel and again, those professionals who can really do knowledge transfer to other countries is one of the other one of the advantages here, and that can really help to make business in this field.
So I think we should go to the next discussion. I would like to ask your thoughts, Mr. Kovacevic, how to train or educate experts when it comes to coming up with cybersecurity solutions for critical infrastructure and cyber physical systems, IT and OT.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question, and I'm very happy to hear this because I think it's very much related to the previous discussion point as well. Look, one thing that we at ACPM are always emphasizing and are trying to put a lot of pressure and emphasis on is that solution specific knowledge is not necessarily the way to go forward. So what we see a lot of times happening in the ICT field and this hi Pak Anton. Yeah, so what we see a lot of times is a large project being implemented in cybersecurity with a large international vendor, and the personnel is trained to utilize that one particular solution, and they don't really know the inner workings of the solution itself. So when it comes to training personnel and really getting that knowledge in the field of cybersecurity, we always encourage experience-based learning. So building up when personnel or staff in IT have a good overall knowledge in let's say computer engineering or IT in general, what we really encourage is starting from the ground up, building up a very good general knowledge of cybersecurity in as many fields of it as possible, not really specified to one certain solution or one certain vendor. And for that, what we really think helps is either utilizing as much open source as possible with its large community and knowledge base behind it, as well as cyber range based learning. So these are some of the things that we always encourage and think that in the long term can really help organizations to build up a strong and highly aware defense system, starting with their staff, of course.
Thank you. Pak Anton, would you like to share your thoughts on this?
Yeah, could you hear my voice?
Yes.
Right now? Yeah,
yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, first of all, on this very good opportunity, let me represent National Cyber Encryption Agency to thank you for the opportunity given by Hungary Embassy in Jakarta to join in this panel discussion. And nice to meet all of you. Sorry for this technical problem. Before I respond the issue that given by Bu Savitri, National Cyber Encryption Agency or BSSN is an Indonesian government agency that have a mandate in cyber and information security. BSSN has a leading sector to coordinate all other related stakeholders in cyber to collaborate effectively and efficiently. BSSN have the three main stakeholders, sector, government sector, critical information infrastructure sector, and digital economy. So the Indonesian government is highly committed to developing cybersecurity. This can be seen through the achievement of in Global Cybersecurity Index, where Indonesia has increased from 70 in 2016 to 41 in 2019. One of the pillar is cooperation. Currently, Indonesia is preparing a national cybersecurity strategy, which is expected to be completed in December next month. Within the framework of the national cybersecurity strategy, there are also pillars of international cooperation, government to government, business to business, business to community, etc. Indonesian policy in foreign cooperation in all field is free and active. One of the conditions is that there are no political interests accompanying and dominating foreign cooperation that could endanger for national interests. So next is how the added value of collaboration, starting from the transfer of knowledge and technology, local industrial development, and also joint research between the entity that have a collaboration. Indonesia is very open to cooperation like this, especially from countries in the European Union. If we talk about cooperation in cybersecurity, then the first thing to pay attention is trust. Building trust between two business entities cannot be separate from how the government provide guarantee through the umbrella of cooperation between government. Even though the government of Republic of Indonesia and the government of Hungary are in the process of signing the memorandum of understanding, which is expected to be implemented on December 1st this year. This will be the basis and framework for a comprehensive cooperation between the two countries in the cybersecurity sector. All parties from both sides take advantage of this by recognizing the technical and business cooperation. It can be done. Several sectors that have the potential to cooperate are, as we know, a secure data center, is increased capabilities of the National Security Operation Center, and also the other local security operation center in the local government, development of threat intelligence, analysis and handling of malware, cybersecurity, and many more. It's a very big opportunity to have a cooperation between two countries, Bu Savitri.
Thank you, Pak Anton. I would like to ask a question to you as well, Pak Anton. What is the current status of malware and forensic analysis lab development or building?
Okay. One of the fundamental things when we talk about malware is how fast we do the analysis is compared to the evolutionary speed of malware. Research on malware by involving many parties, I think with the same interest, is our priority. One of the flagship program at BSSN is the National Malware Analysis Center. This is a BSSN collaborative program with several domestic universities. The program has just started this year, and of course the cooperation will be further expanded with the various institutions, both local at home and abroad. In terms of substance, it also very relevant and interesting because Indonesia has experienced cyber attack as many as 189 million in the period January to October this year. So regarding to the digital forensic, Indonesia also really need technology and expert skill in this field. I think the increasing number of the cybercrime and the demand for the resolution of the cybercrime cases are demanding the role of digital forensic expert. This is a lack. There's a lack of laboratories, as I know, for digital forensic that meet international standard. In addition, I think what is important is the development of the laboratory must be accompanied by the provision of human resource to support and operate and use this laboratory. Currently, the availability of this expert, especially in the field of law enforcement, is still lacking. Digital forensic training that are oriented toward fulfilling digital evidence for law enforcement process are needed. the need for the digital forensic system that does not depend on license, this is our problem, is also a challenge for Indonesia.
Thank you. Would you like to add some thoughts, Kofeches and Dr. Banchard?
I can just emphasize the need for knowledge in this field and trained personnel, because alone tools do not solve the problems. You need to have the proper personnel with knowledge to be able to cope with problems.
Yeah, I really do think that that's probably the key takeaway as well. You know, having that, you know, that staff who can, you know, particularly well tackle any of these obstacles. On my side, I also think Pak Anton and Dr. Benchat has also addressed this very well.
Thank you. I have a question from the audience that Dr. Benchart or Mr. Balo can answer this. Any local trust programs such as Trustmark in UK to boost the consumer confidence with SME in digital commerce? Is GDPR or equivalent privacy compliance a requirement for companies in Indonesia? Maybe Pak Anton or Pak James can also add, because this is likely a question to Indonesia as well.
Maybe about the privacy regulation, Pak Anton can give some insight for us, because I know the PDP Undang-Undang Perlindungan Data Pribadi is still in process.
Yeah, thank you, James and Bu Safitri. According to the data protection law, still in process. Tomorrow we have a working together committee with the Parliament House, and we expecting, we hope all of us, the House of Parliament, the government, also the other entity, hope that at the end of the year, the data protection law will be signing and start to conduct in this end of the year. I think it is a very relevant to the SME also. When we doing the business, not only with the big company, but also with the SME, we have a program to protect them from the cyber attack. We already have the self-assessment information security for the SME. Last week, I bring this material, sharing with the other Asia Pacific country. This is the one of the initiative in Indonesia. Right now, until right now, we didn't give any Trustmark program, but we will think about that in the next future. Bu Safitri.
I think we have 10 minutes left. I would like to ask a question to Mr. Pahendra or Mr. Balo. With more cloud service provider in Indonesia market, do you see a decline in private enterprise data center? Pahendra, your thoughts?
Maybe I can respond to that first, Thomas.
Sure.
Okay. So not all cloud providers are actually building their own data center infrastructures. So in Indonesia, big cloud providers such as Google Cloud Platform, as well as Ali Cloud, they are actually hosting their cloud infrastructure in local private data center. So it's hosted in also ID Pro member companies, yeah. So I believe time to market is critical. So therefore, these two companies are actually choosing these options. And therefore, these two companies that actually hosted their cloud infrastructure are expanding their power capacity. That's from private sector, but also we know that from public sector that Indonesia government is actually, of course, under Kominfo, is planning to build national data center. And of course, as ID Pro's chairman, I would like also to ask our members to participate and support this initiative by providing secure and reliable data center infrastructure to our government.
Thank you, Thomas.
Yeah, Thomas, maybe.
Yes, I agree with you. For example, like Alibaba or Amazon, they require at least 3 to 5 sites within a region,
Yes.
and not all of these sites are their own. So most of them are at especially in the beginning, they use co-location. So that is actually helping private co-location players to build new data centers. Also, I would like to highlight that industrial and manufacturing and logistic-based services are also will require in the future their own on-premise data centers. They cannot only rely on the cloud themselves, or they need to have a local leg of a cloud in their site. I also think that banks are using co-location services, but also they're using their own data centers. And also fintech is primarily using cloud, but for e-commerce, they also boosting the retail and wholesale co-location market. So, and there are new type of demand is also increasing with the digitalization and with the upcoming connectivity developments within the country, which will also boost data centers investment, not only in the central areas.
Yeah.
One last question. Which is the best quality you are looking from EU company? What the EU company needs to have your trust? I think this can be addressed to Pak James or Pak Hendra.
I think maybe this Hendrik can add some. I think the EU company, just like Mr. Benchas said previously, you have up until now you have the best data protection law in place right now. I mean the best and the very strict regulation. Maybe we can we can learn about the data privacy protection from how companies, especially cybersecurity companies, make a solution around that regulation. Maybe because we will have the data protection. We have a data protection law in progress, but because EU already like maybe 3-4 years in advance, usually you must have also have a lot of experience in that area. Maybe it's probably maybe Pak Hendra, you can add something in that.
Okay, so in terms of best quality, we know that if we talk about data center infrastructure technology, EU is way more far ahead than Indonesia. So I think power will be one of the biggest challenges in Indonesia's data center industry. And collectively in Indonesia, we have to find best solution for it. And I think EU has that kind of capability in terms of increasing the capability in terms of adopting the green technology for on-site power generation or for the machine learning to optimize efficiency. So that's number one. And I've been dealing with a lot of European companies, especially Schneider, for the past 8 years. I think they are a very trustable company. They have a very strong support team, both globally and locally. So we are very happy to work with European company all through these years.
Thank you, Pak Hendra, Pak James. We've come to the end of this session, and there are still a lot of questions that maybe the participants can ask directly to the panelists. So with that, I would like to close the session, and I would like to thank you, Mr. Baloh, Mr. Kovacesh, Dr. Benchart, Pak Anton, Pak James, and Pak Hendra for all of your insightful discussion today. Thank you so much. I wish all of us good health, to do all productive activities during this current new normal period. Good afternoon, and see you on the next session of Hunindo Tech 2.0 Business Forum. Thank you.